Whoever has joined in, welcome, 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 welcome. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the live chat. Please let me know where you're joining from. Today, we're going to be talking about PR pathways beyond expressing. Ooh, I have to take off this mic. Okay. 'Cause Hi, everyone. So please tell me where you're joining from. And welcome, welcome, welcome. We're going to have a good time today. Welcome, welcome. Please use the chat to tell me where you're joining from. I'm just waiting 2 minutes for people to join in. Even if they don't join in 2 minutes, we're going to get started because we need to be done in the hour. So please let me know where you're joining from. Sound is crazy. And it seems like it's really slow too. Okay, everyone, welcome. Please let me know where you're joining from. Please, you can type in the caption in the comments where you are joining from. I'd like to know where you're joining from, and I'm going to just dive right into it because I don't want. You can let me know in the comments where you're joining from and we'll dive into it. Please also let me know in the comments what PR pathways are you aware of? Like which PR pathways do you know about? Or what pathways do you know to become a permanent resident in Canada? Guys, I need you to be active. I need you to use the comments so that I can know that you are here. Yes, I can see the likes, but I want you to leave a comment. Thank you, Blessing Elisha from Abuja. Thank you, Fumi from Saskatchewan. Yes, thank you for leaving a comment. So, I did ask a question. I said, you can become a permanent resident in Canada, and a lot of people know that. But for most people, when you speak of permanent residence, they think of the Express Entry program. So, what other ways do you know that you can become a permanent resident? Or what other pathways are you aware of? You can just leave it in the message. Or if it's something you've heard and you're not sure of, just leave a comment, and I'll let you know if that is a pathway before I jump into it. So please respond. I'd like to know what pathways you are currently aware of before coming into this meeting, or what misconceptions you have about permanent residence. And while I'm giving you a while to type, I'll tell you what it means to be a permanent resident. Okay, so Blessing says study route, PMP, work route. Okay, yes. Those three things can definitely put you on a pathway to permanent residence. So the study route, basically you come into Canada, you study, and then after studying, you would probably become eligible for a provincial nomination program, or you'll be eligible for a postgraduate work permit. And after working on postgraduate work permit for 1 year, you would be eligible for Canadian Experience Class under the Express Entry program. Could also be eligible for other programs depending on where you studied. So that's how the study route becomes permanent residence. And that one, we'll delve into it in a specific day, but that's not one of the things we're going to cover today, the study route. So we won't be talking about today. PNP again, Provincial Nominee Programs, basically is a province giving you an invitation to apply for permanent residence in Canada. The The main thing with the provincial nominee program, I would liken it to a big country. In that country, the federal government is trying to get people to come, but anytime the people come to that country, they like to go to the more popular places in the country. So think Ontario, think Alberta, think British Columbia, right? But the other smaller places, smaller provinces also want people to come there. And they have people who have specific needs that they need to make, or they have specific needs in their province. For example, there'll be provinces that are big on agriculture, like Saskatchewan. Hello, for me. Like Saskatchewan, right? And Saskatchewan probably wants people to come into their province and be farmers and go into agricultural entrepreneurship and all of that, right? So provinces like that can give a provincial nomination, and it can be connected to express entry. At the same time, it can also be totally unconnected to express entry. So we have the express entry provincial nominee programs, express entry related provincial nominee programs, and we have the non-express entry where you apply for the provincial nomination, you get the provincial nomination, and then you just apply direct with permanent residence, not related to the express entry program. Okay, so yeah, that's how provincial nomination works. But again, I'm not going to be dwelling on provincial nomination today. Then, Blessing also mentioned the work route, and the work route is a little different. So you come in on a work permit. You might come in on an open work permit. You might be on a postgraduate work permit. You might come on a labor market impact assessment supported work permit. You might come on an LMIA exempt work permit. Basically, you're on a work permit. You work in Canada for 1 year. Your work can do several things for you. First and foremost, it can make you eligible for provincial nomination. Again, provinces like to nominate people who have a connection to the province. And by connection to the province, we mean you've studied in that province before, you've worked in that province before, or you have a family member in that province, right? So one of those things, right? And then so you work by working, of course, you have a connection to the province, and you can apply. In most cases, you can create an expression of interest and just wait for the province to invite you to apply to the province for provincial nomination. That's one way. The second way is if you complete 1 year of skilled work in Canada, you'll be able to apply for permanent residence under the Express Entry program through the Canadian Experience class. So that's another way that work experience can help you. In addition, just having work experience helps you with your adaptability factors under the Express Entry profile or under the Express Entry pool, your CRS score. So those are the ways that working in Canada can help you. So blessing. I just wanted to give a brief overview of all those ways. And before everyone else joined, I had asked where to tell me two things. The first one is where you're joining me from. And the second one is to tell me what pathways you are currently aware of. What pathways do you know about to move to Canada? Which ones have you heard about? Have you heard anyone that you're not sure? It sounds like a myth. I want you to tell me about it so that I can help you. If it's a misconception, I can help you understand that that's a misconception. It's not really a pathway to permanent residence. And if it's not, I'll let you know, oh, that's a real pathway as well. So if you have any, please feel free to use the chat box to let me know. So let me know which ones you've heard before or where you're joining me from. Coming from Fumi, PNP, I would like to know how the non-express entry pathway works. Okay, so the non-express entry pathway, basically, you need that connection to the province. In most cases, you will create a profile with the province. Most provinces have programs that are express entry related and non-express entry related. Provincial nomination is a very, very deep topic on its own. So it's something that we would have to cover in one session by itself. It's not something that I would be able to give you enough details for you to understand that today. But the non-express entry related PNP pathway is related to means of, for example, you have an occupation that is in high demand, so you can create an expression of interest with the province. You have a family member in the province, so you can create an expression of interest with the province. Or you have studied there or worked there, you must have a connection to the province in most cases. Then you will create an expression of interest with them, and then you'll be able to apply. There are other times when these provinces hold recruitment events. For example, New Brunswick, Newfoundland, they've been holding recruitment events, right? So if you attend one of their recruitment events and you get a job offer, yes, you can also use that to come. So thank you. So personally, I'm more of an administrative person. Which pathway would be the best for me? Blessing, today is a general session, so I'm not going to be able to start telling everyone, what pathway is best for you. I'm going to share generally about all the pathways possible so that I don't focus on you because we have other people on the line. Okay? So I've given a general overview. Now, I want to tell you how to become a permanent resident, how you can become a permanent resident, and what the possible pathways are to become a permanent resident. So, when it comes to moving to Canada, thank you, Blessing. When it comes to moving to Canada, there are several ways you can become a permanent resident. The first way is as an economic immigrant. And I think the word explains it very clearly. To be an economic immigrant, you are somebody who is coming to Canada based on the skills that you have and your ability to establish yourself economically in the country. Establishing yourself economically means two things. One, you can get a job or start a business and earn money in that country. You have the skills to be able to do it, or you have the finances to be able to invest. Basically, you have what it takes to stand on your own economically. You're not going to need the government to be paying you anything or supporting you or paying for everything. Do you understand? That is an economic immigrant. So you have the skills, you have the finances to take care of yourself, and you are, in most cases, although it's not always the case, young enough where you can continue to contribute. So when they say contribute to the company, to the country, you know what that means. You're still at a time when you would be able to pay taxes. That's how you contribute to your country. But it's not just the taxes, it's also your mind. If you have great skills you can bring to the country that a lot of people don't have. So, for example, recently Canada has added researchers to their occupations in high demand, senior managers to their occupations in high demand. These are people who are going to be able to bring skills that may not ordinarily have been there already. And they're going to bring those skills, and those skills will be helpful in growing the Canadian labor market. So that's what they mean by that. So please, guys, I don't want to just be talking at you. So far, do you understand what I've said about economic immigrants? The second way you can move in, if you have any question on what I've said so far, please type it in the comments so I can hear from you and know that you guys are here. So the first one is you can move as an economic immigrant. The second one is you can move via sponsorship. And when we talk about sponsorship, we have family sponsorship. Family sponsorship, that's essentially what it is. So family sponsorship, we have spousal sponsorship, and we have child sponsorship of your child. So spousal sponsorship, you're married to a Canadian, you're married to a Canadian permanent resident, and they put in an application to sponsor you to become a permanent resident of Canada. That's essentially what spousal sponsorship is. In the same way, of course, to qualify under spousal sponsorship, you need to meet three requirements. One, you are a spouse, married. You went to court or you went to church and you got married. One. Two, you are a common law partner. Three, you are a what's the third one? Common law partner. Your spouse, your common law partner, and the third one. Why is it skipping my mind? 1 second, please, guys. Let me clarify. Common law partner. Oh, that's crazy. 1 second. Thank you, Blessing. You're a common law partner, you're a conjugal partner. I don't know why it skipped my mind. So, a conjugal partner. Conjugal partner is a little different from a common law partner. A common law partner, you need to establish that you guys have lived together for at least 1 year. Roommates and say your common law partners. You need to show effort you have made to live like a married couple, even though you don't have that name in practice. Then for conjugal partners, you are in a relationship, right? So you are in a relationship, but due to certain circumstances, you've not been able to live as common law partners, or get married in your country. There are many things that could lead to that. One of them could be the laws in your country, for example. If you are a same-sex couple, for example, and it is illegal in your country, then it's very possible that you were not able to live together, even though you're in a relationship. And so you may not have those things to prove that you're in a common law relationship. That's one. Conjugal relationships also, there's immigration, right? Sometimes people are split by countries. Maybe they've made so many applications to move from one country to the other. They were not able to do that, right? They have this relationship, but they live apart because they're not able to live in the same country due to immigration as well. So there are many other reasons why conjugal partners may not be able to live together, and your application for sponsorship will need to prove that. Eyes open. You said that means. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. So that's that. That's that with spousal sponsorship. So like I said, the first one is economic immigration. The second one is family sponsorship immigration. That is, you're a family member. We have humanitarian and compassionate immigration. We have refugee applications, humanitarian and compassionate. Actually, under family sponsorship, there's one more that I didn't mention, and that one is the lonely Canadian category. I don't want to dwell too much on the lonely Canadian category, but basically, it means if you have a family member who is Canadian and you are their only family member on earth, there's nobody else, they don't have anybody in Canada. What that means is that person is a lonely Canadian. They're not married, they don't have kids, they have no prospects, immediate prospect of getting married or having kids. You're the only person that they have. You also in your home country, probably you're also the only person there, right? In those cases, they can also make an application for you under family sponsorship. So, guys, catch me up. Let me know if you understand all that I've said so far concerning family sponsorship, economic immigration, humanitarian and compassionate. Humanitarian and compassionate immigration usually deals with specific situations where you're not eligible, to be honest. You're not like directly eligible. But even though you're not directly eligible, there are certain circumstances where we are able to use those things to appeal to the government to say, hey, help me, please. I need to settle in Canada as a permanent resident, but I'm not eligible. Humanitarian and compassionate applications are one of the lengthiest applications because there must be a ground for it. The grounds for it usually might be the best interest of a child, someone who, for example, has a child with you. So think, let's say, you're no longer married to somebody. Let's say you are, let me think of a way to phrase this. So let me give you one example. It doesn't have to be a practical example, but I want you to just understand what it means to make a humanitarian and compassionate application. So let's say you were previously married to somebody, right? We were previously married. Now the person has married somebody else. Well, we have kids. Our kids have settled in Canada. Maybe one of the children has physical or special needs, and they're able to get care for their special needs in Canada in a way that they're not able to get outside Canada, right? If they have to follow you back to their home country again, because you guys are co-parenting, it would be very, very difficult to do that across countries because one of you has status, the other doesn't have status, right? An application like that, in the best interest of the child involved, especially because the child now has rights in Canada. Let's say the child was born in Canada, you'll be able to now put in that kind of application. But there are specific things tied to humanitarian and compassionate circumstances. So don't just assume based on what I've said that, or I can make a humanitarian and compassionate circumstances application. It's an example, okay? And it's not a direct example. So please let me know if you are so far caught up and understand everything I'm saying. And if you are new to the conversation, please let me know where you're joining me from and what misconceptions you have about Canadian immigration before I continue to delve into it. So please, guys, I want to hear from you. I want you to catch me up and just let me know that you are here and you understand what I've been talking about so far. So I just don't feel like I'm talking to myself and there's nobody listening. So please go ahead and just let me know that you are here. Apart from blessing, even others, please. Okay? And you can also type your occupation in the chat. If you're not sure what to type, just type something so I know that you're here. Thank you for the likes. Just type something so that I know that you're here. And yeah, Come on, you can do it. Thank you, Fumi. Fumi said here. Thank you, Fumi. Come on, guys, you can do it. Is it that you are not listening? You just logged in and you're not listening. Like, come on now. Let me know that you're here. Thank you, Ade Bimpe Abbas, Healthcare. Thank you, Victoria Ayani, for the hi. Thank you for the likes. Thank you. Um, okay, so let me send a question. Your biggest misconception, one myth you've heard about Canadian immigration. I want you guys to be engaged. You've heard about Canadian immigration. Heard about permanent resident, about PR. When I say PR, I mean permanent residence. So now let's go into more details. Thank you, Tioluwanimi Esther. I think you've been here on other lives. Like, guys, I've left a question, so I'll be grateful if you can respond. I've left a question and I would like to get your answers. Now, what is permanent residence? Permanent residence gives you the right to move to Canada and live here permanently. So when you're a permanent resident, you're not renewing visas, you're not doing any of that. The only thing you do is renew your PR card. And to be honest, the only reason you renew your PR card is if you're someone who likes to travel. So let's say after you come in, you like to go out, you like to go to your home country and all of that. If you don't travel a lot and you come to Canada, the truth is when you get a PR card, okay, thank you, Tiolo Animi, and thank you for joining. If you don't travel a lot and you come in, the fact is, oh, thank you, Rashid Mustafa. I really appreciate that. If you don't travel a lot and you come in as a permanent resident, initially you get a PR card, a permanent resident card of 5 years. And in most cases, as long as you are law abiding, you do your work, you pay your taxes, you would, and you stay in Canada, the required period of time that you should be in Canada, you would be able to apply for citizenship before your PR card expires. So in most cases, most people just use the 5 years. But there are specific situations where you keep shuttling. Some people come, but they continue to shuttle between their home country and Canada and all of that. Those are the only people who might now need to renew their PR card. So maybe you end up moving in very, very late. When they give you your initial PR card, you have 5 years to move to Canada. Some people don't move until 3 years in. I don't know if that's still a thing that's allowed, but I know that back then a lot of people would really, really wait until the last moment before they move, just because they're afraid of like finding a job and all of that and starting afresh. But basically, I wanted to just put that out there. And so now let's begin to talk. Now, we've talked about all the ways that you guys have heard that you can, and I've left a poll. So if anybody has any answers to the poll, I would appreciate if you leave an answer, okay? Now, we've talked about all the ways that you guys have heard that you can become a permanent resident in Canada, but now I want to talk about the main content, the other ways that people don't really talk about. I have already talked about provincial nominee programs, so I'm not going to go into it. When it comes to PNPs, I'm going to have a separate live that discusses PNP programs exclusively. So I don't want to dive too much into it because it's so detailed that it would take up the whole of our time. And we're almost 30 minutes in. So the next one I want to talk about is employer-driven immigration. Now, what is employer-driven immigration? We have so many programs that are employer-driven immigration. Under employer-driven immigration, we also have PNP programs. Yes, they also fall under employer-driven immigration. So the employer-driven immigration, Anu Oluwapo Bamidele, the study route is definitely a route. I want to say, let's make it a date to talk about the study route next weekend. Okay? So next weekend, I will talk specifically about the study route. It is also something that puts you on a pathway to permanent resident. But today I want to focus on things that you are uh, directly applying to permanent residents, okay? So employer-driven immigration. We have a lot of programs in Canada where you need to find a job offer. And with that job offer, you can direct apply for permanent resident. I'll tell you the first one is the Rural Community Immigration Program. Has anybody heard about the Rural Community Immigration Program? Please let me know. So the Rural Community Immigration Program covers smaller communities in rural Canada. When we say rural communities, they're like smaller communities where fewer people want to go live, and all those communities have specific needs for immigration. If you are able to pull it up, please let me know. RCIP, exactly. So the RCIP program requires you to get a job offer. And it works really great because when you get a job offer under RCIP, right? You can apply for a work permit and come in. So if you're outside Canada and you get a job offer under RCIP, you can apply for a work permit and come in. You don't need to wait until the permanent residence application. In fact, it doesn't work like that. The permanent residence application is not going to just start being processed. So you would ordinarily come in on a work permit and begin to work in the community before you get that community support for a permanent residence application. So the RCIP program is one of these, right? And under the RCIP program, there are 14 communities. And if you go on their website and you check out each of the communities, you would find that all of them have specific occupations that are eligible, specific industries that they are looking for. Under the RCIP program, you can apply if you have a valid job offer from a designated employer in the community. And if you go on the website, you'll find that each of the websites tell you the designated employer. So this is not one where you don't know where all of these are coming from. No, everything is written there. So if you are willing to do the work, you go on those websites, look for the ones that have your occupation listed, and you now begin to apply to the designated employers. To find a job, you need to network. I post a lot of videos about networking and trying to find a job. And the reason I do that is because a lot of people are, focused on the easier ways to get into Canada. But if you can't come in that way, you have to remember that there are other ways, such as the RCIP program, such as the AIP program that we'll talk about, and many others. But under the RCIP program, you need to, first of all, have a valid job offer from a designated employer. So that's one. Secondly, you need to have at least 1 year of full-time experience or related work experience to the job that you're claiming in the last 3 years. So in the past 3 years, you need to have 1 year of related work experience. Now, what does this mean? It means you cannot be applying to work as a nurse aide if you don't have 1 year of work experience as a nurse aide in the last 3 years. Please let me know if you understand that. You need to have 1 year of related experience in the last 3 years. Then, of course, you will have to prove your language abilities, and you need to have all of this before you start applying. You must have taken your language test. See, remove it from your mind that I want to look for a pathway that doesn't need language test. I want to believe that most of us here are past that phase, and you know that that language test is a thing that is really, really important when it comes to Canadian immigration. So I want to believe that most of you would have done your language test, and you're not there hoping, oh, I'm looking for a pathway that's going to allow me come without language tests. For that one, you're going to wait a long time. To become a permanent resident, to become a citizen, ultimately you're going to need to take language tests. There's just no way out of it. So take it, because almost all these programs we're talking about require you to have taken the language test. So there's that. Okay. Then you need to have your credentials evaluated. So whether you're doing that with WES or ICAS or any of the other bodies, if you have a professional designation, you need to get that done. You need to have an ECA, Canadian Educational Credential. You must have one. Then you need to have enough money to support yourself. And how much money you need to support yourself depends on the program. But generally speaking, we have a federal level of work experience that you need for it. So for the Rural Community Immigration Program, the key is to go on the website and start to search. Don't start to apply for anyone that you know that you do not meet the requirements. So for RCIP, the money that is required for a family member it was updated in July 2025, so most likely it will be updated by July again this year. Family member of one is 10,507, so you can see it's a lot lower than the Express Entry program, for example. Family family member of four, 19,524. So it's a lot more affordable in terms of the settlement cost compared to the express entry program, or if you're coming through the study route or any of those ones for this program. If your family is a family of seven, 27,806. And then if you have more than seven people, but I don't know how, but if you have more than seven people, because I don't know how, because when you're coming in as a permanent resident, is you, your spouse, and your children, right? So I don't know how you would have more than seven people, but I guess it's possible if somebody has five children, right? But anyway, if you have more than seven, or you have six children, but if you have more than seven, for each additional person, you add 2,831. So I'm going to go to the comments now and just see and catch myself up before I continue, okay? Hi, I'm a director in the Ministry. What pathway do you think is best suited for me? Thank you for your message, Ejowo Kale Diebe. I'm sorry, I know I'm not pronouncing it well, but this is more a general platform. I'm not going to be able to tell everyone specifically what works for them specifically. I want everybody to be able to benefit from it. So I'm going to tell you all the pathways, and then you can, in your own private time, go look at it and see which one is more likely to work for you. And at the same time, you can also schedule a consultation so we can talk specifically on your own personal needs. I know Oluwakpo, quick. I don't know. Well, can you explain what you mean by exam? Do you mean English test, or what exam exactly are you talking about? Are you just finishing high school, trying to get into bachelor's? I just need clarity. Um, Chioluwani, me. Yes, but do you need work with the employer alone throughout your visa period? See, Oluwanimi, if I'm not mistaken, what you're trying to say is, do you need to continue to work with the employer throughout the time of your visa? And if you come in on a work permit, we have different types of work permits. In most cases, this one is going to be a closed work permit. So if you come in on we have closed work permit, we have open work permit. If you come in on an open work permit, you can work for any employer. If you come in on a closed work permit, you can only work for the employer listed on that work permit. If you can only work for the employer listed on that work permit, so you can't switch employers. I'm guessing your question is, can I do other jobs? And you'll not be eligible to do other jobs if you're coming on a closed work permit. Remember that you're coming in specifically for this job. But I want to also give you a heads up. When you come in on a closed work permit like this, within Canada, you are only able to work for the employer who has given you that work permit, who has sponsored the work permit in Canada. But you see, outside Canada, remotely, you can work for anybody. So you can continue to work for an employer outside of Canada remotely in your own free time, as long as you're doing the work with the employer that sponsored you to come in on a work permit. Okay? Yeah. So Bilkisu Danjuma, please, I am a registered nurse. I have an express entry profile with CRS 445. How can I get a valid employment offer? I believe that may help me get provincial nomination points. Okay, so Bilkisu, I'm going to speak generally on that. I can't speak specifically to you, but before the end of this meeting, we're going to talk about how to get a job offer, or how to start looking for a job offer. Okay, so if there are no other questions, okay, Tiolowa Nimi says, I work in the NHS as a healthcare assistant, but I don't want to work for the same employer throughout. Unfortunately, the thing is, if you come in on a closed work permit, you have to work for one employer. And I would not recommend that you come in and break that rule, because when you come in on a work permit, you are a temporary resident, and your application for permanent residence is tied to what you do while you're a temporary resident. So you have to tread very carefully. So my recommendation is, to be honest, the closed work permit is not very similar to the way you guys do COS and all of that. You're not going to be chasing it. In most cases, as long as you have a good time with the employer, you continue to work for that employer, and your permanent residence will be approved. When the permanent residence is approved, one of the downsides to programs like this is just simply that because you have applied on that rural community immigration program, you have agreed to live in that rural community. So the assumption is you are not now immediately jumping to go to a different city or a different province, right? you're going to live in that community. You can't start saying, I can't find job offers. Same with provincial nomination, right? You would stay in the province that nominated you. You're meant to stay there. And at least you would need to stay there until you become a citizen. So think 3 to 5 years, you're going to be in that community. I work in the NHS as a healthcare assistant, but don't want to got it because it would look like the same thing I'm living for. Can I come in through PR? You can apply and come in as a permanent resident. What I'm explaining is if you come under an employer-sponsored pathway to permanent resident, then you need to complete the work part before you apply for the nomination. Now, do you understand? So when you've now completed 1 year of the job, you can apply to the community to get their support to apply for permanent residence. That's one. If you come in through any other one, let's say it's AIP, let's say it's even just an open work permit, your spouse is studying in Canada, or your spouse is working in Canada, and you get an open work permit. After 1 year, completing 1 year of skilled work experience is NOC 0123. 1 year of skilled work experience, you will be able to apply, whether it's under express entry or through provincial nomination, you will be able to apply for permanent residence. All of this is still a permanent residence pathway. It's just that because it is employer supported, it starts with the work permit. So I hope that you understand that difference, okay? Please let me know if anyone has any questions on that one before we talk about the next one. So basically, that's it with employer support. And when it comes to employer support, we also have the Atlantic Immigration Program. So the Atlantic Immigration Program is pretty similar to the RCIP. The only difference is that under Atlantic Immigration Program, there are a few differences. First, Atlantic Immigration Program is limited to the Atlantic provinces. Those will be Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, and Newfoundland. So compared to the RCIP, where you are looking for job offers in rural communities, under the Atlantic Immigration Program, you are looking for job offers in Atlantic Canada. So, for example, as a nurse, Tiolu Adimi, or the other nurses who have said they are nurses in the chat, Canada is organizing recruitment events. I'm sure that there's some of those events taking place in Paris. I know that some of those events will take place in London. At least one has taken place, and some will take place later in the year, or in the UK, generally speaking, right? What I will advise is attend those recruitment events, especially for New Brunswick. When you attend those events, a number of things happen. One, you can get a job offer. Once you get a job offer, you're on a pathway to permanent provincial nomination. Sometimes, just with that job offer, you can create a profile with the province, just with that job offer, right? And New Brunswick is one of the fastest provinces in my own experience, in my own practice, is one of the fastest provinces when it comes to provincial nomination processing. Nobody's faster than them. When you have a job offer, they are really fast with it. So you would now get their provincial nomination, right? With that provincial nomination, you are able to now start an application for permanent residence. So it means that before you even come, your permanent residence application has been submitted. And because that application has been submitted, then you just have a limited time that you wait for the permanent residence. Of course, the timelines are backed up a lot right now. So that time might not be as quick as you think because any provincial nomination related pathway usually takes a lot longer than express entry related pathways. So as long as it's provincial nomination related, you can find that it will take definitely longer than a year. But if you're outside Canada and you've already started your provincial nomination or you started your permanent residence application, there's nothing sweeter because you know that as you're coming, you're moving home. You're moving home from the beginning. So there's nothing nicer than that, okay? Yeah, so that's that with that, right? If anybody has any questions on that, so I talked about the Rural Community Immigration Program. I talked about Atlantic Immigration Program. I will also talk about the LMIA supported work permits because LMIA supported work permits also help you in a very similar way. The only difference is with LMIA supported work permits, you have specific skills, and the province or the employer is helping to support you with those skills. So you're going to join the employer and work to do those specific skills that they've hired you for a period of time. Once you've done it for 1 year, you can then apply for permanent residence. Again, through all the ways I've told you, either it's Canadian Experience Class or it's express entry, occupation specific. In most cases, when you get an LMIA, you would probably even be eligible for occupation specific work permits under express entry. Now, one of the ways that a lot of people don't talk about, we've talked about rural community immigration program, is the Francophone community immigration program. Okay, so does anybody know about the Francophone community immigration program? Does anybody know about it? Ah, there's nobody in this chat, so that means I should end, It doesn't look like there's anybody here. Where are you guys? Hello? Where's everybody? People are waiting for you. If people don't talk, me, I'm not talking. No. Please let me know that you're here. If I don't know you're here, I'm not talking. Okay, Bilkisu says we don't know anything about it. So the Francophone Community Immigration Program is similar to Ayo Ladipo. Thank you. I don't know what you're saying, though. Yeah, it's not the French route. There are different French routes, but it's not the French route in the way that you are saying it, but it's a French route. So for the Francophone Community Immigration Program, hello, G Suite Oge, thank you for joining in. It is kind of similar to the Rural Community Immigration Program, right? The same way you need to have a valid job offer, you need to have at least 1 year of related work experience in the past 3 years in the occupation that you have chosen. You need to have taken the language test. You need to have your ECAs. Whatever you're doing, just get your ECAs sorted and get an English test sorted. Whatever you're doing, get into the express entry pool. You also need to have enough money to support yourself and your family. So the same amount of money that I talked about when it comes to the rural community immigration program is the same amount of money you need for the Francophone community immigration program. So now the difference with the Francophone community immigration program is the communities and what they are looking for. So for Francophone communities, they are looking for people who speak French. That's the basic difference, right? They're looking for people who speak French, and each of the communities have a different requirement, but basically you need to meet the minimum language requirements for the French. Now, that immigration program, we have some really cool communities like Sudbury, Timmins. These are Ontario communities. Superior East Region, I'm not so familiar with that one. We have Kelowna. To be honest, the only place I've really ever wanted to move from outside of Calgary, Alberta is Kelowna, and it's just because Kelowna is so beautiful. If you look at Kelowna houses compared to Calgary, where we are blocked up most of the time with snow, in Kelowna, most of the houses have pools because the weather is so good. In Kelowna is the region in British Columbia where they even have, guess what, wine. They have wineries. That's how good the weather is. They make wine, so you can go visit wineries in Kelowna. They have beaches there as well. In Calgary, we don't have beaches. We have one thing they call sandy beach, and there's no sand on sandy beach. It's rocks that we have there. It's not really a beach. It's like a river. I don't know what it is, but it's not a beach. But we call it sandy beach because that's the best that we have. So yeah, Kelowna is one of the places I really wanted to move to because it's just so beautiful, and yeah. So Kelowna is one of the communities under this Francophone Community Immigration Program. I recommend that you look at it. Now, the only difference with this one is you would need to take an approved test for the French, right? Under the approved tests, we have TEF Canada and we have TCF Canada. But you know what? When it comes to these tests, you don't need to score NCLC 7. So you know when you're doing French language proficiency, you need to score NCLC 7. For this program, you don't need to meet NCLC 7. That means for the French, the lowest you can score based on the ranking, right? They have NCLC 4, and they're saying you just need to make NCLC 5. So, for example, for express entry, for you to meet French language proficiency category for express entry, you need to score in your reading test a minimum of 434. But for this program to qualify, you just need 352. For the writing, CLB 7 is 428, but this one you need 330. For listening, CLB 7 is 434. For this one, you need 352. And for speaking, CLB 7 is 456. For this one, you need 387. When we say NCLC 5 refers to your language ability if you're doing a skilled trade. That's the language ability that is required. So just for you to understand that it's not as tough as meeting the requirements for French language proficiency. I hope that actually helps somebody to understand it. So I'll tell you some of the jobs that are being sought for under this Francophone community one. And I'll tell you one of the reasons why I'm taking my time with this one is because even when people show interest in this, any of these community programs, they look at Atlantic immigration because they also have NOC 4 and NOC tier 4 and NOC 5 jobs, right? When you look at Atlantic Immigration Program and we have the designated employers, you will see that I have a list. I need to give you an updated list until 2026, but currently I have lists for designated employers under the Atlantic Immigration Program. You can find that on my page. Just go on my page, go to the link in my bio, you'll find it. That's one. You have to check Instagram, sorry, not on this YouTube page. You have to check my Instagram and go to the link in my bio, you'll be able to get it. So that's one. Now, when it comes to the rural community immigration program as well, what I'll do is I'll update the ones for this year and then I'll share it again. But the older ones, you can also get it from my bio. Now, guys, let's go on Kelowna's website. If anybody is able to pull it up, please let me know. But guys, please let me know that you are following me. And if you have any questions so far, please leave them in the comments, okay? Basically, under this program, the employers are looking to recruit people who are bilingual but are able to speak French, and they want to permanently establish themselves in Kelowna. If you're somebody who always says, hey, I don't like bad weather, this is one of the best places for you. So you just need a sufficient level of the French. You need to have a credential evaluation report. You have to have work experience in an eligible profession. You need to wish to settle and work permanently in Kelowna, and you need to have a bona fide job offer from a designated employer. So now I'm going to tell you the priority occupations for Kelowna under this program. So when it comes to Kelowna and the kind of occupations that are prioritized under this program, one second. They're prioritizing sales and service occupations, okay? They're prioritizing trades, transport, occupations in education, law. Let me just tell you the occupations directly. So if you are a baker, Kelowna is prioritizing you. They're prioritizing cleaning supervisors, cooks, corporate sales managers, hotel front desk clerks, carpenters, electricians, automotive service technicians, truck and bus mechanics, and mechanical repairers, other repairers and servicers, painters and decorators, cabinet makers, roofers and shinglers, plasterers, drywall installers, and finishers and lathers, early childhood educators and assistants, home support workers, caregivers, and related occupations, elementary and secondary school teaching assistants, social and community service workers, nurse aides, orderlies, and patient service associates, other assisting occupations in support of health services, medical laboratory assistants, and related technical occupations, accounting technicians and bookkeepers, supervisors of finance and insurance office workers, supervisors, general office and administrative support workers, administrative officers, and then forestry technologists and technicians. Please, can you let me know if your own occupation is on this list? Now, one of the questions somebody asked me is, how can I find a job? So I want to now dedicate the rest of the time to telling you about finding a job, okay? Our next live stream is going to be next Sunday, and next Sunday we'll talk about moving to Canada using the study route. And then the one after that, we'll talk about provincial nomination programs, okay? Because that one is a lot. I don't even think we can do it in one. So we'll probably have 3 or 4 of that to cover provincial nominee. But these classes, I'm trying to keep them under 1 hour. These live streams, I don't want to make them longer than 1 hour. So for today, I guess we focus on the occupation specific or employer supported pathways to permanent residence. Okay, so now, how can you find a job? I've told you a number of things and it's pretty easy. One, go on these websites that I've told you today. The key to finding a job under this thing is going out of your way. Is going out of your way. You must go out of your way. So one, go on this website, Francophone Community Immigration Program. If you believe you are not willing to do the work, you're not willing to learn the French and take the French exams, then don't bother. Just go on Rural Community Immigration Program and then look for the communities that have your occupation in high demand. Focus on that. Go on Atlantic Immigration Program. Look for designated employers that are looking for your role. I have a very long list of designated employers, so you can find them on my page, the Atlantic Immigration Program one, and then the Rural Community Immigration one. You would also find them from here. So if you just feel like you don't want to do the work of Francophone, don't bother yourself. But let me tell you the secret with Francophone. The key secret with Francophone, and the reason why I'm hammering on it, is that nobody is backing up that line. Do you understand? So the way everybody is trying to get in doing rural community and everybody is applying to go there, Francophone lines are not backed up. So if you try that one, it's probably going to be easier for you. But you need to actually pass the test, because the reason they're hiring you is to come and work in the French. Now, even if your French is NCLC 5, by the time you start working, immersing yourself in a language, every day you're speaking the language, your levels will go higher. So you definitely move from that NCLC 5 to 6 to 7. So first, find the list of designated employers. Make sure you have relevant experience. These are not the kind of things you want to cut corners with, because these programs are not as direct to permanent residents as you want to think. You need to first come and work. And of course, if you come in on a work permit, you would need to be able to complete the job 1 year. If you're not able to complete 1 year of the job, then that permanent residence is long thing for you. So this one, being very honest and getting it done, is the key to making sure everything works out for you. So one, find those employers. Two, you start to apply. To start to apply, get your Canadian style resume sorted. Make sure your resume is Canadian style. Then do a dedicated cover letter for each job. Dedicated cover letter, dedicated application. It must be specific to the job. Now, once you have received a, for all of the employers, all these employers that are listed, go and add them or follow them on LinkedIn. If they're on LinkedIn, go and follow them. Go and look for the employers on LinkedIn. When you look for them, right, search for them on the LinkedIn. When you now find the employer, try and find somebody that is working there. If you want to message everybody working there, you can do it. But try and find at least one person that is working there. When you find the person that is working there, send them a message, a proper message. Send them a message to say, oh, hi, I hope you're doing well. I wanted to find out, I'm looking to get into this field, whatever the field is, right? I already have experience from the UK. I've been doing it for the past 4 years. I already have experience in Nigeria. I've been doing it for the past 10 years. I'm looking to get into this field in Canada, and I just wanted you to give me a few tips on what I can do to make myself competitive. Listen to what I'm saying. No, I'm not saying you should go there and say, please give me a job. Don't ever try that. Nobody's going to give you a job just like that. So it's one of two things. You approach them like this, and then they would give you advice. And because they're giving you advice, then you can now throw in, oh, and please, could you let me know if your office is hiring at any time. By the time you're asking this, you and the person have flowed, you've spoke about the profession, you've given them an idea that you are actually, professional and you understand the job and you've shared some kind of tips about the job. So as an advice, you know, one of the other things you can do is ask them, can we have a coffee chat? Coffee chats are virtual, right? Most people will say, "Oh, I have 15 minutes I can spare. Let me know when, or I'll share my calendar and you can book a 15-minute slot." If somebody tells you they want to share a 15 minutes slot, the most valuable thing that anybody has in the West is their time. If someone says they're giving you 15 minutes of their time, it is precious. Don't use that 15 minutes. Then it's now time for you to join them. You're not joining them until 5 minutes. 5 minutes has passed. You've not joined. They'll probably log off. So be there even before the time. You'd have logged in. Let it see host has not, you know how it shows on Zoom to tell you that the host has not started the meeting. It's much better than the host starts and they're waiting for you. And then you come in tardily. So come on time. Now when you go in, you would have done your research that day. Make sure you do your research so that when you join that meeting with that person, you wow them. Your goal now is to wow them. So as they're talking, make sure you have the latest information on something that is going to wow them. How do you do that? Go on their website, go and read the news articles, go and find out what those people are working on. Find out one of those things, do your research on it, then use your own lived experience because you're doing the job as well. So you know something about something, right? Use that to speak to them. Let them know that you are not a starter in this thing. You're established. You know why? Because what you want from that person is to build a relationship where they are solid enough to say, hey, my office is hiring. Make sure you put in an application. Once you've come to that point and they are ready to recommend you, but please don't pester them. Like I said, reach out to several people. Even if you have 2 or 3 people in that office, it's not a bad thing, no. Do your best. Reach out. You must reach out. You have the lists, you have the tips. Get a resume. Don't be lazy and start sending the same resume out. Your resume must be tailored because it can be the same role, but one of those things will say they need someone who pays attention to detail. Another one will say something completely different. And punctuality is the most important thing to them. Your resume should be tailored to match it. And I'm telling you that tailoring is the most important thing because everybody knows. I don't know how it is in your home country or your country of residence, but everybody knows that nowadays it's very rare for a recruiter to read your resume. So your resume has to get past the ATS system. The thing that gets your resume past the ATS system is you tailoring it. Once you miss that tailoring, it will be very difficult for your resume to get past the ATS system. And once your resume doesn't get past the ATS system, Otilo, that's just the truth. So you have to take your time with tailoring your resume, tailoring your cover letter so that no matter what, you're going to get called for an interview. Okay, please let me know if you're on and you have any questions. We have about 2 minutes to round up, and I wanted to conclude on the tips. So if the person now ends up giving you that coffee chat or whatever and you've wowed them, afterward, send them a message to say, thank you, I really appreciate the tips that you shared. Even if they don't give you a coffee chat, if all they do is share some tips with you by message, say, thank you, I really appreciate the time you spent. Even if you don't, this professional courtesy is not your strong point. Go on ChatGPT. That's why AI is there. Continue to ask ChatGPT to give you a message until that message feels like a message that will come from you. That's all. That's all you need to do. Do that and then send it to them. This is the most quiet live stream I've ever had. I'm not getting responses from you guys. So I don't really feel motivated because I'm not getting questions, I'm not getting comments. So I don't really feel motivated. But if you are here and you have any questions so far, please let me know before I round up. I'm going to be answering your questions. Do you remember this one I'm rounding up? So don't say, in my case, which one will be best for me? This is an ongoing thing. Today we've talked about employer supported routes. Next week, we're going to talk about the study route. The upper week, we're going to talk about provincial nomination. If what you want to do is just to tune in and then start to find out, okay, which one is most likely going to work for me, what my advice is, these employer supported ones, they are low effort. Low effort. You just need to be putting your applications. If it works, it works. But they are low effort, low expense required. And they will help you come in with, again, the lowest expense. Like I told you, if you check out the RCIP cost requirements, if you check out the FCIP cost requirements, it's a lot lower than express entry. Same for Atlantic Immigration. They are a lot lower, so you can't compare them. And if you come in under a labor market impact assessment supported one, and you're young enough to where you can apply under express entry through Canadian Experience class, again, in most cases, as long as you have a job in Canada, those people are not required to show proof of funds, so they don't need to show proof of settlement funds. So that would be probably one of the easiest ways. But you will need to show those funds when you come in on a work permit. Okay. So it doesn't appear that you guys have any questions for me. Peace, Iwolagbe. I just joined some minutes ago. Hopefully the summary will be of help to me. I hope so too. Peace. And guys, I'm just giving you 1 more minute if you have any questions. So let me know the questions. But in the absence of the questions, thank you for joining in this live. And next week, we'll talk about the study pathway. I know that I did say we were going to talk about the study pathway this week, but what then happened is I have a colleague who's doing study this weekend, and I didn't want to start having the same live because she has something going on for that. So because of that, I decided, you know what, I'll do it the next weekend. So we're doing this one. Bilkisu, I'd like to understand how to go through the French route. So we've talked a bit about French today. We talked about a bit about French as well last week. So if you listen, you see, you learn a bit about French, and you can also refer to the last live that also talks about the French route. And next weekend, we're going to talk about the study route. Thank you for your time and effort, Ma, taking note of all your advices. Thank you so much, Billy Kisu. And thank you to everyone that joined me today. I hope to see you again on Sunday, and I do wish you the best in all your immigration plans. Immigration is hard work, so don't take it lightly, and always remember that the how young you are today is the biggest advantage you have. So don't waste the time and don't miss out on all the benefits that you can gain from your young age now. If it means learning this French, go watch the last live. Go watch it. Figure out how you can do, even if you don't want to pay any of the French tutors for private one-on-one classes, right? Just take all the other tips that we talked about on that French live and try them and just say, okay, is this something I genuinely am even enjoying? Because there's nothing that will give you an easier life in Canada than that French. The way I'm telling you that the French pathways are not as backed up is the same way when you come to Canada, every job you're looking for, they have the French language, they have the English. As long as the government job, we have French imperative, we have English. So for that English, now let's assume that there are 500 people looking for that job. I'm sure 400 of them will be on the English line, but only, oh, I don't know what happened to my light. 400 of them will be on the English light, but only 100 of them will be on the French line. So that's the key thing that you should keep in mind, okay? All right, so in the absence of any questions or comments, I'm going to say bye and I'll see you guys next the rest of your day. Bye.